Kimberly from Are You Awakening? And I am here with Miranda, and we have been the Tipsy Mystics for quite a while, for many years together, traveling. And we have finally decided to start recording a couple of these because our conversations are so much fun. So she's on the East Coast, I'm on the West Coast, and we don't get to see each other in person all that much, but we are total soul sisters. So we'll let Miranda tell you a tiny bit about herself.
Oh my God, I didn't know there'd be a fun fact section.
What kind of wine are you drinking?
I'm not drinking wine. I'm actually drinking tequila and some watermelon kombucha. So
with
cheers.
Ice cubes?
With some little heart-shaped ice cubes.
Yes.
Because if you're going to have a drink, you might as well have a little love with it, right?
They have to go together. If they don't, then, why are you drinking, right?
Yeah. A little bit about me. I live in the Philly area. I am I don't want to say aspiring astrologer. I'm just going to say I'm an astrologer. Right? Because it's all about intention. So
you were born that way, baby.
I was born this way. So I'm currently looking at life via the lens of archetypes. So everything I see, I now see as this archetype or that archetype. So if you have any astrology questions, send them my way. I will say I'm an aspiring astrology business owner. But follow me at Astro Bartender on all of the places you can follow people. There's not much there, but there will be someday soon.
Well, it all starts with intention, yes, so it'll show up soon. Okay, well, if you don't know me, I'm Kimberly from Are You Awakening, and I'm in Los Angeles, and what?
You can read her about info on your website.
You can read my about info on my website. Right, lately I've been channeling a lot of galactic artists, and so we've been collaborating on art that's really weird, really cool, really fun. It makes me shiver when I do it. And I'm very excited about the fact that our world is starting to finally wake up and realize they're creating their reality. So we thought we would talk today about 3 types of awakening symptoms. And it sounds like it's going to be like really medical, but it's totally not at all. I'll tell you what the 3 types are, and then we'll go through each one. The first type, icky. The second type, annoying. And the third type, fun. So we're going to talk about one of each of those in categories. And I am going to tell you before we start, it's just a coincidence, but I'm expecting a wine shipment that I have to sign for. Totally coincidence. Should have been here hours ago, but that's the way the universe works. Give you a little test every now and then. All right. So the first one, icky.
Yeah, I was going to mention my very intense purging. This happened even before I realized I was awakening.
This was before tequila, right?
This was
not after tequila, before tequila.
Before, not before I've had tequila, but over the past couple of years, I've had these, I've never in my life, as up until I was 34, really ever thrown up. I couldn't even throw up. And then all of a sudden I started getting these days where I would be laid out 24 hours, horrifically feverish, and just violently purging. And it would last for 24 hours, and the next day I'd be fine. And then months would go by and happen again. Do I want this to happen in a crappy hotel in Barcelona? No, but that's of course when the universe is like, hey.
And that was where there was all this party.
You're ready to let it go.
Do we have to do it while we're traveling? Thank you, universe.
Yeah, it's like they don't know. They don't know where you are or what you're doing. They're like, she's got a day off. Like, it's fine. So yeah, I had
since there is no time, right? There is no time anyway. They're like, now's a good time for her to purge.
Yeah, she's quiet. Yeah, so so that, I mean, it's icky on all sorts of levels. Any sort of like violent purging, but I think that happens to people in different ways. Mine just happened to come out of my mouth.
You know, I didn't go through any of that purging, and I'm thankful, because I would like pride myself, like you, I'd be like, I haven't thrown up in 12 years. So I know I'm eating well, and, you know, I'm taking care of myself. And like, if it ever did happen, it was food poisoning. That was my justification, right? Had to be food poisoning. But I didn't, I think I purged in other ways, like more tears than any human has ever cried, ever. Like body shriveled up into like those little, remember those little apple heads that people used to make?
No,
the shriveled apple heads?
No.
No. You're in Pennsylvania. Okay. It's a given. It's a given. Oh, my wine shipment may be here. Hang on one sec.
All right, well, Kimberly gets her wine. I think I should talk about something. I'm not exactly sure, but since we were talking about releasing energy, that's just something, like she said, everyone does a little bit differently. Some people, just due to who they are, purge and release energy in a physical manner. Some people more like Kimberly, it's more emotional. Obviously it was physical too as well with the crying, but people just get it out anyway. Sometimes it's going to come out as anger, sometimes it's going to come out as tears, sometimes it's going to come out as throwing up, sometimes it's going to come out
oh my God, are you still talking about vomit?
No, I'm just talking about how everyone's different, and you're going to be able to release those energies in different ways, whether it's physical or emotional, or I don't know, maybe you are just a little spiritual tunic wearer and you just release it with butterflies coming out your ears.
Off sounds with you. Demons be gone and they flutter away. That was not me. Although I did not need to purge that way, I cried a lot, and the entire world, no, let's make it bigger. The galaxy was sitting right here all the time. That was me. I can't carry this. That's how I was.
Yeah.
I realized that it was completely unnecessary.
Yeah, I think we all do that. Or at least, light worker people.
Well, I mean, you go through that period of what's wrong with me? Am I sick, or is this a spiritual thing? And I always like to say in every video that I mention this, that we're not against doctors. We just want you to think about it and talk to your body and ask your body. And there may be a time that your body says, go to a doctor, because it supports your belief system.
Yeah, I mean, until your belief system is ready to not need a doctor, going to the doctor might be exactly what you need to do. They might have exactly, the message for you, or you might listen to them and say, you know what? No, not at all. I don't believe in that. But you needed to go to the doctor to hear that. There's always a reason.
There's always a reason. And today, what is today? July 16th is the day that coincidences ended for me. Like, I can no longer label anything a coincidence, because it's just not, right? So,
absolutely.
As a coincidence, I went to the doctor once when I lost everything in Hurricane Katrina, and so I was blah, 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 all that history, all that junk, and I moved to Phoenix, Arizona with what was in my car and a 7-year-old and a cat. And I swore up and down when I got there that I had Lyme disease. I knew it. I had every symptom. Of course, you look it up, right? Right? And you're like,
Yeah,
this is the...
WebMD.
Oh, you have to go to WebMD, right? And you look it up and, oh my gosh, I have all those symptoms, right? So the universe is like, okay, now you do. You have all those symptoms. So I went to a doctor and he's like, you don't have Lyme disease. I'm like, you have to test me. I will not understand that I don't have it until you test me. He's like, I'm going to test you. It's fine. I'll test you. He tests me. I come back in. You don't have Lyme disease. He's like, you just went through a kind of a traumatic situation and you are under stress. I'm like, see, but that's what the doctor told me. And I'm so glad. He wouldn't give me any medication. But he was the one who put the words in my head that I was creating it myself.
Absolutely.
I went home and all the symptoms went away and there was no Lyme disease. So
See, you need to go to a doctor, or you don't.
yeah.
Just listen to yourself. If you're like, God, I really feel like I need to go to a doctor, go to a doctor.
Okay. So that was our icky.
Yeah. Let's move on.
That's really icky. That's like the ickiest thing I can possibly think of, actually.
Yeah.
So I could never do ayahuasca because if the guy comes around with
Right?
the stack of buckets and stuff, that's not happening.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
I had my own personal ayahuasca and energy purge. I just didn't need any substances to do it.
She didn't need any.
Although one time, very rudely, I had eaten like a bunch of organic blueberries before. That's just not cheap.
No, and it probably wasn't all that beautiful the second time around either.
No, it wasn't.
Oh, damn. Okay, second one, annoying. So my most annoying awakening symptom was losing work. That's a coincidence.
Universe got jokes. They got jokes today.
Losing words, like cannot form a sentence, stuttering all of the sudden, can't spell. Like remember Dumb and Dumber when he couldn't pronounce the. That's me.
Yeah, especially it's like when you see a word that you've seen a million times and you're like, no, that's not right. It's not spelled that way. But it is spelled that way. And spell check is like, no, it absolutely is. Unless
you're the Berensteins.
Yeah, I know. Berenstain, quarantine.
Berenstein, I remember asking my mother early on if, I probably shouldn't say that, but if they were of a certain ethnicity, because I'm like, I've never seen bears like that. And she's like, probably.
And I've never seen bears like that? Bears who like live in a house with clothes?
No, not that kind of bears. Anyway, I was young and all I can say is that that's what made me remember that it was Berenstein.
Yeah.
And they even got the family involved. Did you know that?
Yeah, I know. They've asked them.
And they're like, it's never been Berenstein. It's always been Berenstain. I'm like, well, you people, you all massively jumped timelines just to mess with basically all of Earth.
Yeah.
Is what happened. So I literally was an English major, a creative writing major, and I could whip out words without even bothering to think about them. And now it is coming back a little more. And at least my thesaurus is always at hand, even though I don't always agree with the thesaurus anymore.
I mean, I love a thesaurus. I go to thesaurus.com literally all the time, and I right click on Microsoft Word and go to synonyms. It's my favorite thing. I actually taught my college English professor that trick. I was like, oh, you can just right click on it and go to synonyms. She was like, are you kidding me? she hated me. She did not like me at all. So
well, that's because you were smarter than her.
She got one little, no. So she said that like she could get an A in that class. So any student could only get an A if they were as good as her. Like,
have you forgiven her for that?
I mean, I really could care less. I could really care less. But yeah, but I did give her that little gift. You are welcome, even though you treat me well. I showed you kindness. Yeah, I it's been really, I go through like weeks where it's like impossible to spell a word or form a real sentence, which is hard when you do marketing and you have to write a lot. So,
well, you know, I talked to my guides again. I talked to my guides about that. I think you did too, though, right? I think we both talked to our guides about that.
I talk to them all the time about that because as we're talking, obviously the words are my words, right? When they come through. And I'm like, I don't like that word. And they're like, well, that's just because that's the only word you have. Because we're putting a concept through you. Exactly. We're not giving you words. And so if I'm having a tough word day, then it's just tough all around.
So do you ever, I know I do, so I'm just going to say I do. Do you ever like throw up your hands and like, what are you trying to say? Like, just give me a word I don't know. I'll write it down. I'll figure it out. We'll add it to the Urban Dictionary because I'm sure that there's plenty of words that are going to be introduced now that we're, you know, changing our perspective about things.
I know. Well, they're like, I mean, they do it. They're like, here, read this, or go to read this article, or put this in front of you, so I get the word, so I get the concept. And then, I mean, my communications with them get so much better because I've gotten this new like word and concept that we're able to use together. So they do it, but they don't do it directly. They don't give me the word because, again, I'm the one with the words. I'm the human. They just have energy and concepts and ideas. So, but they do try and help me and, you know, give me a post on Facebook or an article to read or a book to read. And then I get a whole new concept and a whole new bunch of words. And then going forward, we use those words, but it happens. It just doesn't happen the way we would like it to be, which is like easy.
Now. Yeah. I don't get it. I don't always get those words like you do. Sometimes I have to actually, you know, sometimes I have to check with you, like what's the word for or whatever. But my explanation from my guides was, of course, abstract. And it was basically like, you're thinking holographically now. So you're not thinking linearly anymore, but you're trying to make a linear sentence. And I'm like, well, that's totally true. My thoughts bounce all over this mind, and then I try and figure out how to put it into a sentence that other people will understand. So, yeah, I'm getting better, but I'm hoping that just everybody else learns how to think like me. It'll be much, much easier.
Y'all get it together. Get it together. Kim's looking for a little help.
Earth, come to my rescue. Like we haven't had enough of that request, huh? All right, let's go to the fun one because it's fun.
The best one.
Huh?
The best one.
The best one. The fun is the best one. And that's why we're here on Earth, is to have fun. Once you get through the war of polarity and all that stuff, then you can start to have fun. But you can have fun now because there's no time. So I know that might have just gone around in a big spiral, and I did that on purpose. That was a gift from my guides that are here with us. And we're going to go to fun. And the fun are the messages that are out there in our physical reality. So what's your favorite message, Miranda?
I mean, I just love synchronicities. I love getting my little, every few moments, I'll see an 11:11 on the clock or a 1:11 or a 3:33. I mean, they just give me a little, it's like a little, hi, we love you, we're here, you're doing a great job. And whenever I see them, I go, oh my God, guys, I love you too. It's just throughout the day, you just get a little reminder from your team that you're not alone. You're not doing this alone. No matter how hard it seems, and we often still do feel very, very alone in this. So just a simple little message from them that, you're not alone. You're not doing it. We're here. We love you. You're doing a great job. That's my favorite thing.
That's pretty darn cool. That's the first thing I started to see was 11:11 on the clock on my pickup truck when I was driving back from the barn from riding my horses. I'm like, is it seriously 11:11 again? Really? And so we should probably talk about why people are seeing numbers. What do your guides tell you about that?
It's just an easy thing. When you keep repeating it, you go, oh my God, this is weird, right? Mm-hmm. It's just you don't have to like have a crystal. You don't have to meditate or take a yoga class or do anything. Everyone's got a clock. And they're usually digital these days. Or, there's numbers everywhere on a street sign, on the car bumper, whatever it is. It's just such an easy thing. But when it happens every single day on repeat, it's something that you absolutely can't ignore.
Right.
Right? It's that first sort of learning to use your intuition, because you're paying attention to that each time you're looking at the clock and stuff. So it's just a way to, wake people up.
I agree. And I do have to mention that there are some places out there that really have some numbers that end up being ominous. And so I don't support that at all. Now, the 666 stuff.
We're taking
and all
it back.
That.
We're taking all of that back. You don't get a color to be negative. You don't get a number to be negative.
Mm-mm.
We're taking it back. It's mine now. It's my number. It means something fantastic.
Explain why you can take it back.
Because it's my reality. Because I created it. If I don't believe evil exists, then there's nothing other than love. There's nothing other than all that is. So it's just a number. First of all, it's just a number. I mean, come on. I never had that connotation with a color or a number or all these silly symbols and stuff. If that never meant that to me, it doesn't have to mean that to me now just because I learned somebody else had that concept.
Exactly. You're basically, a lot of people will just automatically adopt someone else's idea about something without ever questioning it. 666 is a bad number. It came from the Bible. We understand. Somebody wrote it, all of that. But you grew up, not you, but many people grew up fearing that number, afraid of a number, all because of someone's idea about it.
Right. But, we can also just take it back to what we were just saying and be it's a repeating number. It is something that stands out to you, right? And it stood out to you as this, bad omen, but it's just something that stood out to you. And it can a repeating number can just as well stand out to you as a good omen.
Right. It's basically asking you to ask yourself, what does this mean to me? And like you said, if I don't like what I have associated with this number, at any time, I can change it. Right? You don't need permission from anybody. You don't need to look it up and see if other people have done it. When you're creating your reality, you can literally just say, that number no longer has that relevance for me. Right? Now, Absolutely. There could be some tears and fear and all that stuff to get there, but, I wasn't raised religiously, but I did love reading just the revelations in the Bible because it was the only exciting part, right?
I don't know. I didn't read any of
You
it.
had horsemen and, 10-headed beasts and stuff. I mean, that was the only fun part of the whole thing. So I was like, all right, Genesis is okay. There it begins and all that. And then the middle part is beautiful, love, 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 whatever. And then the end is like, here's the climax. Let's do it. So it makes sense that for me, I kind of on my path to where I am now, went through a whole lot of that polarity based on what I read in the Bible or wherever. It doesn't have to be the Bible. Anywhere that you read, if you accept it as this could happen, it's a possibility.
Yeah. It's funny. I remember when I was a little kid and I wasn't raised religiously and my mother wasn't really into the church in any way. And a friend had like given me this like children's, I mean, I was probably like 8, giving me this like children's like little Bible stories. And my mom's like, oh, so what do you think about those? And I was like, oh, they're great. They're like Aesop's fables. She was like, accurate. Yep. Like it has nothing to do with doom and gloom. I'm like, it's like Aesop's fables. It's just like how to be a good person.
I like it.
Teaches you some lessons. Yeah.
I like it. Well, someone went to an awful lot of work to create that, so we'll give them credit for how long one book has lasted. So besides numbers, for me, the biggest thing has been songs, right? So it started out with what I thought were just the lyrics of the song. Somebody somewhere, sometime ago wrote a poem, they put it to music, and then, oh my gosh, I'm listening to it, and that's my life right now, right? And so then you start to question, like, how did that person know? That song is written exactly for me. The same thing as the numbers, you start saying, this doesn't add up. Like, things are hot. Something else is going on here. And how did that work for you?
Yeah, I mean, I used to, when I first started like talking to my guides, that was kind of a lot of what I would say, like, well, why don't you give me a song? Like on my drive to work every morning, I'd be like, just give me a good song to put me in a mood for the day, you know what I mean? Or like send me a message. It's just a really easy way to like start talking to them and asking them for messages.
And so I think one of the questions I get the most about this is like, well, how does the song get to you? And right? So
I listen to the radio in the car like an old person.
I know.
That's how. You turn the station and the song's on.
Exactly. I'm talking about the synchronicity of getting the song right then and there when you're listening and you're expecting it. That's what I'm talking about. So mechanically, from a creational perspective, how did that song get to you?
It's just energy. It just shows up because it's just now, and it doesn't need to be any sort of mechanical thing in the background. This is the only thing that exists, is you in a car with a radio and any song that you've ever heard in the world available.
Or songs you haven't heard in the world.
Or even songs you haven't heard, yeah.
Because I've had some come through that just were like so ridiculously specific that I'm like, I think I just wrote this like on another level, and I just was like, this is a sporadic, here, send this to myself song, because it was dealing with exactly the like previous thought. And I'm like, you got to be kidding, right? So I think one of the when you go back to the people who are questioning what happens, like how does something happen to me in the physical like this? How can I explain that it has a spiritual meaning as well? Other than just being a coincidence, right? We got coincidence versus synchronicity. That's what I'm going for.
I mean, I can't explain it. Everything's the same to me. There's no difference. between what's a spiritual thing and what's you know, a manifest thing. At least not anymore. I mean, I used to think that way, but I generally don't think that way. It just is, they're the same. I mean, I do have Sun Neptune conjunct. So me, my identity, and the all that is are always combined. I've never known the world as separate.
And you're so sunny. You're so sunny. Look at her. She's all like sunny over there. Me, I took the dark route. I took the revelations route. I took that every horrible thing that could possibly happen to a human route to keep me down in the physical and miserable for as long as I could possibly stand it. And so, whereas you are seeing things from this level and it's all the same, I see things from the different levels. And I see things like this is a very physical thing. Like on my way home from my walk, all of a sudden I hit this one point. I'm like, God, I want coffee. And geez, oh my gosh, I'm going to make an omelet. I'm going to put mushrooms in. Like that is all there is of my consciousness is food.
I mean, I get that too. Food specifically. I'm a food motivated animal for sure.
I could be connected with I don't know how many dimensions, I'm using in quotes, up, and all of a sudden when I'm thinking about an omelet, it all just comes tumbling back down to physical earth, and I'm totally okay with that. But eventually you're going to have to realize that this is great, your five senses, but then all of a sudden you actually need to know what the thoughts are going through your head beyond food, right? So if you find yourself, not you, Miranda, but if people find themselves stuck in that physical area, it's probably because they're not giving themselves the time to clear their heads. They're not giving themselves that lay around and let things calm down mood. Now, you don't meditate. I know we talk about that. And my meditations are walking or doing dishes or tending to plants. So
yeah, I mean, you can call it meditation, I guess. I wouldn't use like the normal, I'm sitting, I tried to do the like breathing in thing and I just get so bored. It's more like just sitting quietly by myself. A lot of times it happens when I'm reading a book and I'll read a sentence and then like I can't get through the rest of the book because my mind's like in 8 different places, or I can just sit there, do a couple breaths, and then I'm in wherever I need to be. Again, like it's just no different than anything else, but I trust it now. Whereas before I was always there, I just didn't trust it. I didn't know what it was. I just thought it was me. But I mean, I can look back on my whole life and be like, there was this message all of a sudden, like came out of the blue. I was like, I should do this, or I should go there, or I should do whatever. And now I just know that they're from, a me in a different perspective.
see, she's got it together.
I don't know if we want to.
You got it together.
Want to see that.
I think I've known you for what, 4 years, 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We'll
You're totally the same though, like disposition wise, that you were 5 years ago, which is, I guess, what people like her look like, when they're just like a nice little ball of energy, that they're compact as far as they understand who they are and where their mind is going, versus me, who I'm like, oh, the hell over here. Yeah, I can understand it. You're just like a little ray of sunshine.
I mean, that's the loveliest thing I could be, right?
It's a beautiful thing. So what other fun things have you experienced as far as synchronicities or
oh God,
fun messages?
Fun messages. I mean, now when you like you were saying, you're done with nothing's a coincidence anymore, right? Like once you're at the point where nothing's a coincidence, everything is a message. Everything's a joke. Everything's a joke. I'm looking to buy a house, and I was looking at this house that I'm looking to buy. I'm going to see tomorrow morning. And I had told my real estate agent when I was having our first consultation, I was like, you know what I hate? Can we just put this to get rid of all of their people's hideous window treatments that they leave in their houses when they move? They're always hideous. And like,
they are. They don't even want to take them with them. They're so hideous.
Right. So I had this conversation like 2 weeks ago with my real estate agent, and then I'm looking at this house and I'm like, this house has more hideous window treatments than I've ever seen in my entire life. The house is empty. There's nothing in there except like walls and walls of hideous window treatments. Like put a doily on anything. One of those little short things, like hideous. I was like, oh, okay.
But did they have the little spring ones that go inside the window?
Yeah. I can't tell you how many window treatments are in this house. So I was just like, okay, I get the joke, guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's a house for you. It's got all the window treatments.
Everything you've ever wanted plus a bonus. You don't even have to dress your own windows because it's all done for you.
But that's like a synchronicity. Like I had made this like very specific how much I hate window treatments when people like sell a house, and there they are. Here you go. So like that's just like a funny thing that like when you realize everything, you're creating all of this thing, you're like, okay, yeah, hilarious.
It does make it quite funny. And I have noticed, okay, so I live alone and the walls are relatively thin here. And I know that my neighbors are wondering because when shit happens, you're like, that was so not funny. That was so not funny. And I'm thinking, okay, well, we'll go back down to 3D and maybe they just think I'm talking on the phone. And then I go up another level. I'm like, I don't give a shit what they think. And then I go back up to I can't believe you just did that. That was so not funny. Sorry, that was.
Yeah, if anyone doesn't understand how much of a sense of humor the universe has, you're not paying attention. It's just so many jokes.
It's hysterical. And so I started the one that I just sent you. I think I just put it on an Instagram story where I'm walking and I look down on the ground and it's a strip that says, do not remove this strip.
And that's all it says. It's not even one of those like scary tags. It's just.
I have no idea what the strip was removed from, but someone removed from it and threw it on the ground. And of course, I had to stop and take a picture because that would be a great example of how the universe is like. The rules are just guidelines. They're just guidelines. You know, you look at it. You say, does this apply to me? Is it going to hurt anybody if I break it? And I'm not talking about murder. I'm talking about stupid ones like you can't walk a whale down Main Street on a Sunday. Things like that where you're like, that's a real law. I believe it's in somewhere like.
It happened.
It had to happen at least once or they would have made a law about it.
I feel like it had to happen more than once for people to be truly concerned about the threat. Right? It's not like a one time, like, that'll never happen again. And then it happens again. They're like, shit, we need to do something about this whale walking on God's day. Right?
Now, let's go back to what we just talked about how we're creating our own reality. And the fact that somewhere, I think it was in one of the Midwestern states, this is an actual law. But this law was actually set up probably back in the 1800s or whatever. And it was set up fully ready for you and I to talk about it right here. Right? It was already set up. Everything.
Yeah, that's the only reason it exists. That's the only reason that you read that law exists, is for us to have this conversation right now.
So,
for a joke. The universe created that law for a joke. For us.
There are a lot of them. I have, when I know a guide is trying to talk to me, I have kind of like a a bank of names that they'll use.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I know that it's a guide. I'll know that pay attention. Here's a message for you. This is something for you to respond to. Like Divinia and like stuff like that. You're like, come on, guys.
It's not
not real. I've had so many YouTube comments show up, and then all of a sudden, like, of course, every once in a while I'll click because the picture is just like a light bulb. And I'm like, all right, who's this person? And of course, it's like, this isn't that person at all. I'm not really that person. And that's it. So, synchronicity, humor. What else? What else do you get?
I mean, jokes. So many jokes. I mean, I get crappy stuff. One time, I was like, well, you know, I was like pulling cards in the morning. It was like a Monday morning early, and I pulled, I don't know, maybe a tower or something. And I was like, well, I need more information than that. Like, you're going to have to send me more of a message. Because
tower on a Monday is not
give me this shit. Like, give me a message. So then I go into like get dressed. This is before I got dressed. And I do rent the runway. So I was like, I put on like new clothes that I've never tried on before because you just rent the clothes. And so I put this shirt on or this dress on, and I was like, I don't like this. And I had that, women know this feeling that, holy shit, I can't get out of this.
Oh my God.
Stuck in here.
Yeah, the whole stuck on the...
It's stuck. I'm stuck in here. And I legit had a full-on nervous breakdown. Like screaming to myself, I can't get out, get out. Like, it was like a message.
It's
and I was
not
like,
your dress, it's worse, right?
Yeah, well, I ripped that thing, but there's insurance. They don't care. I sent that back. But it wasn't a normal, I didn't have a normal reaction to getting caught in the dress. It was full on emotional breakdown, like screaming to myself. And I was like, and then I finally got out of that. I was like, you sons of bitches. Like, did I know I asked for a message, but like, maybe a song, you know, maybe one of those songs. Remember that? No, full on, stick you, get you stuck in a dress.
I bet it improved your mood, right? Or maybe that was what the tower was predicting.
Yeah, it was a message about what it was about. So yeah, synchronicity is fun.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I see. I have a bunch of different pictures that I take on my walk every morning, and some of the stuff that shows up is just hysterical. Just why, right? And I'm at this point now where I want my world to not have trash in it. And so I focus on going out on my walk and seeing a world in which all of the people care enough not to litter. And so I'm like, as the days go by, I'm realizing there's a lot less trash here. There's a lot less trash here. And then I'm like, shit, there's no messages either, because all I ever did was look for the trash. Because that's where all the good messages were. So I'm kind of not sure where that's going to go. Maybe I should actually enjoy the trees and the nature and the chirping birds that are in front of me instead of focusing on the ground.
It's litter, or are you getting messages? I don't know. I get to choose.
Well, but the whole thing, you and your archetypes, right? Is it litter, or is it a message, or is it something like nothing? Maybe you could give it no meaning whatsoever and say, oh, there's a random kumquat in the middle of the street next to an empty pipe and a left boot. That means nothing to me.
What are those quizzes where they give you like a few pictures and you have to like guess what the phrase is?
Oh, what are those?
And are they like enneagrams, or is that something else?
I don't know.
But you know what I mean? It's like it's like a quiz, and there's like 3 pictures.
It's like online charades, kind of like a printed charade.
Yeah, they're old school though. They're old school.
Shit.
They're called. But that's what it sounds like.
I didn't get to play a lot of games when I was a kid. I was drawing aliens.
As a kid?
Oh, yeah.
Were they baby aliens?
No, they were gray aliens with the big eyes and stuff. Nobody cared there. Are you in Bucks County? No, you're not. I was in Bucks County.
I grew up in Bucks County, but
okay, so
not now.
For those of you who don't know Bucks County, that's where all the M. Night Shyamalan movies are filmed. Like every creepy film that he's ever filmed there, that's where we grew up. So just knowing that, stuff in the sky was like another day for me anyway. And so we saw ghosts and all sorts of things coming in and out of everywhere. But the whole what was I saying?
Your alien art.
Oh yeah, there was so much alien activity that like beams of light in the backyard were like you just turn over and cover yourself with a pillow because it was really bright. I thought that that's the way everybody lived though. I was pretty surprised when I started talking about it when I got to college and moved up to New York. And people are like, what the hell are you talking about? But see, that's part of the belief system thing, right?
Yeah.
Right? So I had no problem believing it because it was a reality to me from a very young kid. And so when I went to somewhere where I went to an area where people didn't hold that belief system, that's when I got the whole you're crazy thing going on. So everybody's walking around with their own reality.
They have their own context for everything. And that's where the archetypes come in. Like I can see that they're connected, but for you, you see it as this. You see it as this archetype in a dualistic manner, right? Maybe lower, maybe higher, whatever you want to call it. Everything's an archetype. It's just whatever context you have as a human or a being that has had other lives. So a lot of times it's whatever you had in another life, you're going to bring that in. Like if you had galactic lifetimes, you're far more likely to bring in the concept of, oh, it's just an alien outside it's just a spaceship outside my window. I'm going to go back to sleep. Like for you, you have that as a being, unconsciously, you have that context. That's not weird. But for someone who's only ever, been a human on Earth, if there are any of those, I guess I'm sure there are. Like but there
aren't many right now.
Yeah, but I mean, even if they had lifetimes on another planet and didn't like go up on spaceships and that sort of thing, they just don't have that context in their code to be like, oh, spaceships. It's just foreign to them, so they would never create that in their reality because they don't have that concept to pick from, to draw from. It's just not there. It's just not like, the low-hanging fruit of creating a life.
Oh, that's my total low-hanging fruit. Like, if it doesn't have an extraterrestrial in it somewhere, I start to wonder if it's worth creating. Because I am in love with things with tentacles. Like, I know that probably one of my most favorite lives was me in tentacles. And I do kind of start laughing at that because I can't figure out, like, how you mate. Like, I can't remember how they mated. So if anybody knows.
Did you Google, like, how octopi?
Oh, I'm not sure I really know. I don't know. I'm maybe hoping that the memory comes back to me. Like, I can have, like, a full-on tentacle porn scene going on. That sounds like way more fun than Googling it, though, right?
I guess.
I'll keep you updated.
Maybe it'll trigger something. It'll trigger a sexy memory for you.
Sexy tentacle memory. So tell me, what is your favorite archetype?
My favorite archetype? Oh my God. I don't know. I have so many. I mean, I tell you my least favorite. All the Virgo stuff. I mean, truly, like, what a dud. What a dud. Virgo, like, always trying to, like, fix people and fix their problems, like Mr. Fix-It. Like, the Virgo archetype is someone who, like, takes apart a toaster just to, like, see how it works and then, like, puts it back together.
I happen to absolutely adore Virgos, which is hysterical. In fact,
I mean,
have
they
a
also,
Virgo
are
friend.
wonderful
They're
and like
very analytical. That is definitely
service
for
to
sure.
others, but I just,
Humble.
yeah,
Really?
yeah. I
But
mean, I'm a super Sag, so anything Sagittarius, I love. Wisdom, the teacher. I mean, I just love a smart person. Like someone who's not Gemini smart. Gemini smart is like facts and details
yeah, but what are facts,
and
right?
dates. They're nothing. That's
You're
why.
talking like physical, somebody
Yeah.
wrote it in a book fact, which is
Yeah.
someone else's idea.
Yeah.
Right.
Sagittarius's archetype is wisdom, like true knowledge.
What's my archetype? I'm a Scorpio.
So
Bitchy?
I mean,
No.
yeah. Well, there's all these. Each sign, each archetype is like so many things that encompass that. So one of my favorite archetypes of Scorpio is transmutation and transformation and healing.
Like alchemy stuff?
Yes, like alchemical. I mean, they're also like the bad guy, right? The evil other.
Have you ever heard me be evil?
No, but that's what all these archetypes live in duality. So they have a dualistic like transmutation and healing, and the most evil thing you can think, the shadow, all that nasty stuff that's below the surface.
Oh, that's totally me. Although the shadow doesn't come out at people anymore, but that's totally me. So Sagittarius is all
that's everyone. Everyone has all of these needs. If you think of all the signs of a need that a human has, everyone has every planet in their chart, and the planet is the active agent for these needs. So everyone has these needs. Everyone experiences these archetypes in their life. Some of them are more prominent because you have a lot of that activity in your chart, but everyone has that, and everyone with transiting planets goes through almost every sort of aspect and has those prominent in their life. We're all the same. We all have all of this stuff, but we view it differently from our lens, from our perspective, and that's where the archetypes come in, where they're connected, but they seem to most people totally separate. But you're reenacting these like trauma from your childhood, so to speak. Trauma means a lot of things, but you are reenacting these things archetypally exactly the same, right? Exactly the same, but you don't know that they're the same because you don't know what the archetypes are. You don't know that they're related, but you're just doing it with like a different person or a different experience or a different scenario, but they're the same like aspect in your chart, or the same trauma or the same experience over and over and over again. So you get a chance to do it differently this time, like Groundhog Day.
You're great. I've had enough of that, right? You're talking about different lives, like they're going through different archetypes in different lives, or they're going through all the archetypes in one life.
This life. They're all experiences in your life. So if you have like some sort of experience with your mother as a child, you're going to maybe experience that with depends where the moon or Cancer is in your chart. Maybe with a boss, right? You're going to go through years later. You're going to go through seems totally separate, totally different, or maybe a romantic relationship, or maybe a friend. It seems totally different to you. There's no connection, but archetypally, it's the same experience, right? The same sort of feeling, the same need that you're trying to get met through that experience.
So what would that archetype be? So you say maybe you have a neglectful mother, something like that. What would?
I mean, it depends on what's in your chart. It would probably be a hard aspect, like between a few planets, like a square or a quincunx or an opposition.
This is another language to me. I'm just letting you know. It's just so you know, I have no idea what the hell she's talking about. So when I'm feeling some energy, I'll have to send her a message and be like, something's going on and then she'll look up my chart, which of course she has to have on hand at all times, and explain what the hell is going on, because I know that the planets and how they aspect each other makes a huge difference, especially, you know, the moment that you were chosen to be born, right? But don't they just go around like the same thing all the time? Is it the same? Like, do any of them, I think there's one that's knocked out of orbit, or Planet X or whatever, Nibiru, whatever that one is, that's like way out of orbit. But besides that, they're following the same cycles forever, right?
I mean, as far as a transit, but I mean, the sort of key issues you're going to deal with in your life are going to be in your natal chart.
So based on the moment that you were born,
based on the moment that, yeah, based on the moment that you were born and where the planets are. But transiting planets, meaning the planets that are going now, might hit your natal planets, and so that's maybe when you're going to relive those traumas and experiences from when you were younger.
That sounds so confusing, but it always makes sense. Whenever I ask her, she's like, this and this and this and this. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. So there must be something in it. And if you have questions for Miranda, let her know, and she will answer them and I will not.
Yeah. If anyone has any questions they want us to talk about, I don't know if you have an astrology question, if you have a question about an awakening symptom, something that's going on in your life, if you want to talk about literally anything, spiritual, non-spiritual, I mean, we'll have an opinion for you.
Guaranteed.
Guaranteed. And
from our perspective.
From our perspective, always with love.
Always with love.
And lots of humor. So just let us know what it is, and we'd be happy to add it to the agenda.
Okay, well, do let us know in the comments, and don't forget, always be yourself all the time. Love.